All right, everybody, it is 2:59 p.m. Let's keep it up, keep in respect with everybody's time. Let's get this going. My name is Scott Beatty. I am a real estate sales professional, aka a realtor, and this is a brief overview of the home buying process. I created these slides to help our current clients, kind of a intro to the home buying process, and just to better educate everybody that's either watching today, whether you're a for sale by owner or whether you're a first time home buyer, or whether you or just trying to do it on your own, or if you have an agent, you don't have an agent, you don't know where you are in the process, this place is perfect for you, just because it's a very, very quick overview, and it's three. So let's get it started. All right. So the very first thing in the home buying process, I would say, after you decide that you are ready to buy real estate, is you need to, for one, get your funds together. If you're a cash paying buyer, we would need you to go to your bank and get a proof of funds form and a document stating that you have that amount of money that you're looking to do. Or you need to get in touch, if you're not a cash buyer and you are financing the property, you need to get in touch with a state/local specific real estate lender. Okay, so that's not like someone you find online. That is somebody who does real estate deals in your area. You want to make sure that you're in the same time zone. You want to make sure they follow the same guidelines. So many times in the home buying process, we've seen, and the home selling process, really, we've seen deals fall apart because buyers, they weren't completely educated on the financing side of it, and they just chose somebody that they found online, or just some off the street, nobody, without comparing options, comparing rates, and speaking to multiple people. So we always strongly suggest our buyers, and it's not necessarily a standard or a must. However, it is strongly suggested that our buyers at least speak with two local real estate specific lenders before we start wasting everybody's time, and find out something in the long run. All right. So number one of this process is make sure you have money. You don't go into the store without any money. You don't go into the store not knowing how much you have to spend. You don't just willy-dilly go in there unprepared. This is one of the biggest investments that home buyers make, that anybody makes, not just home buyers. And you want to make sure that you are able to work with people that can help you in short time frames, short time windows, and they know what's going on all around you. So be surrounded by completely educated people that are speaking basically the same language as you. All right, number two is to actually seek a real estate advisor. Now, I know that some people want to think that they can do it themselves, or how hard can it be? In the home buying process, it's not just going to see properties. It's really the negotiation standpoint of it. It's the advisory standpoint. All we want to do is help educate and guide you, and make sure that your I's are dotted, your T's are crossed. So go ahead and seek guidance and education from a leader in today's market, someone who knows everything. I know for a fact we had a no pressure, no hassle, no obligation policy. So just talk with somebody. This is actually a very good step. This is basically what you need to do. Seek guidance. All right, number three, you want to go over all the wants and needs whenever you're beginning this process. You don't just shoot out and make up what you're looking for. You want to actually pinpoint the areas. And why are you moving into that area? Is it the school system? Is it the neighborhood? It's not. You don't want to make sure you're just getting a nice property at a good price, because sometimes you're not only buying your house, You're buying your situation, you're buying your neighbors, you're buying your neighborhood, your community, the stores around you. So, you know, it's a great, you want to be prepared, really. You want to know that, you know, if you want a basement, you need to be educated on the fact that what not having a basement will do to the price, or, you know, just market numbers, right? And all the properties information, anything that has to do with the property, we actually go through a dream home form with you. So we do a step-by-step, almost a room-by-room type of thing. What are you looking for in a living room? What are you looking for in a dining room? What are you looking for? We ask deep level questions to get to why it's important for you to move to a place, what you need, what you want to use it for. Are you having friends over often? Are you having family members often? Do you need an extra bedroom? Because typically sometimes people end up staying the night, whether it's a nephew, a parent, a friend from a night of going crazy. So this is where you would have the consultation portion of it, and you just actually decide the goals and the plans of what you're actually looking to do. All right, number 4, you know, that's basically the easiest part, is to go look at houses. You know, it's fun. You get out there. There's new homes for sale. There's older homes for sale. It's just a fun experience, you know, because the selection of a house or purchase of a house, it's not necessarily a selection. It's really an elimination process. So you will want to eliminate homes from a top, I would say 5 to 7 list. And you want to make sure that you're qualifying these people. Like, let's say if you have a top 10 list, you know, you want to shorten that up. If you have a top 10 list, that's a lot of properties, and maybe you're not as, you know, narrowed in to what you're looking for, but you would want to drive by all of those properties, or the ifs, maybes about those properties. Go check out the neighborhood, go check out the community. Once you have done that, we can actually plan a few hours every single week to go check out homes. You know, we understand that, you know, certain homes hit the market and you need to go check them out as soon as possible. However, we do strongly suggest that if there's a list of over 5 properties, that you go check out the community, and then you get back with us, and then we'll put together a schedule of when we can go see your top list. We want to make sure you're not wasting your time. We want to make sure we're not wasting the seller's time. We want to make sure we're not wasting our own time here. You know, we're not just going to go look at houses because they're pretty. We're going to go look at houses because they actually fit the bill. They fit the description. They're almost exactly what you're looking for. You'd be willing to, if this was an Amazon transaction, add it to cart and hit buy for the most part. We're just going to go make sure that the pictures actually match what the actual property is, and make sure we're not getting catfished, you know? And also, I do want to touch on that a little bit. A lot of times the average buyer goes to see about 5 to 7 properties, and that's where we got our number from. And, you know, whenever you go see a lot of properties at a time, they all start meshing together. And I want to speak on, put yourself in the seller's position. I know that you're the buyer, you're there to buy a property, you have your own wants and your own needs. But if a property isn't something that you are absolutely in love with, properties don't typically change for, you know, I don't know where I was going with that, but I'm just saying, like, put yourself in the seller situation, and you have people that are going to go see properties that aren't really motivated to purchase that property, and you're just going to go see a property because it may have potential. Well, that seller's getting their hopes up, you know. And again, we're all about providing you service on the buy-in side of it, but we ask you just to consider the selling side of it. They're getting excited. They have probably their first showing or their one showing of the week, and it's really to a buyer who was bored and wanted to go check out properties. We want to make sure that, you know, it's win-win-win for everybody as far as time goes in this process. So we strongly suggest you narrow down a top 7 list to a top 5, 4 list, and that's whenever we go attack the properties. If of those 3 properties you don't see anything, like, we'll schedule the next 3, you know, but just plan it like that. Keep everybody's interests in mind, you know, even though you're looking out for yourself in this process. Will be there's other spinning wheels, and I'll get better at explaining that over time. But the next, say we go look at properties, you narrowed it down to your top 5. We're going to go see 3 of them. By the time you get to the second property, you're like, you know what, this is the best property that, this is a great property. Yeah, it's better than the first one. And then you want to go check out the third one. You're like, whoa, this property is way better than the other 2. And it's definitely worth the price that they're asking for. Now it's time to submit the offer. All right. So you have seen the property, you like the property. If you like a property, there is a strong possibility that other families and individuals like that property too. You're not the only one who knows the secret of it. So I would always suggest that you start realistically thinking about putting together an offer or the purchase and sell agreement. Again, these are forms that we can all go over. This is kind of a quick pass. But other people are probably thinking the exact same thing that you are. Other people are probably thinking, let's think about it for a few days. Some people are probably thinking about some people are probably new to the market, or some people are probably old to the market. They've been looking for a property and they saw this property and, they know that it's the best that's out there and they just want to make an offer right away. So you always have to consider that you're not the only one here that's actually thinking this was a great property, and you're not the only one that is either going to have to think about it or act immediately on it. Everything needs to play. You always assume that someone, like the dealer's holding an ace, I guess. If they're showing a face card, you have to assume that there's an ace in there. I'm sure that's not the actual analogy for it, but other people are probably thinking the exact same thing you are. So you need to make sure that you are making the best decision for you and your family, and for 2, beating everybody else to it, because it's who's first. If it's a new property and it's super poppin' area, maybe they're expecting multiple offers that, they'll consider other offers. But a lot of times, you can win an offer just by being the first one that actually throws it in there. You give it some time, other people have time to collect themselves and submit other offers. Now they're thinking, oh, we have a multiple offer situation. And now, you're competing against other buyers, and that just drives the price up. All right, number 6 is, even if you submit an offer and that offer is not at full price, you should expect a counteroffer, because I would always suggest a seller counteroffers. And I would suggest it, but it's all in the end of what the seller feels confident about. But if let's use round numbers, if there was a property for $700,000 and somebody shoots in at $650,000, you can expect, if it's priced correctly, a counter offer. And we'll be educating you throughout the entire process on what a good offer would be. But again, you're the boss. You make all the calls. Just make sure that, you're not offending the actual seller. Sometimes they can take a low offer pretty personally and may not even counter. But expect counters if it's not a full asking price. As far as the binding agreement goes, there was no counter or there was a counter, whatever it was, both the buying side and the selling sides have agreed to terms. $700,000 is perfect. 0 closing costs is perfect. You want the extra fridge in the garage? You got it. Give me my money. Buyer, seller, handshake. And then what we call it in the business is it's now binding. You're under contract, and now due diligence starts. And you have we always put 3 to 4 business days from going binding, you will owe your earnest money. All right. So the earnest money is typically 1% of all offer prices. So, and that's just a cashier's check that is a show of good faith, so we would suggest that you put $7,000 down for a $700,000 property. Again, that would be up to you. You are the boss. We're just trying to make your deal look as attractive as possible. So you would put $7,000 on a $700,000 property because it's 1% of the actual offer price. And it's a show of good faith, meaning, I'm willing to put this money down to show you that I'm not playing around. I want this property. Otherwise, I could lose this $7,000. And we'll get more into that on the next few slides. But earnest money is, you can lose your earnest money, even though it goes to the actual overall loan payment. It goes towards your loan. You don't lose that $7,000. You're not paying for anything. You're just showing that you have a little bit of money, and it will go towards the actual the sale of the property. But there is a time frame where you can back out of a property for whatever reason without losing that earnest money. And once you hit that time frame, you will lose money. You will have potentially the opportunity to lose that earnest money. It's my job as a professional to protect that earnest money and educate you and keep you up to date on everything. Make sure you make the best decisions, again, for you and your family. But sometimes, sometimes some things happen during the deal where even if it's outside of due diligence, the buyer has to back out and they lose their earnest money. So let's actually get to the due diligence period or the inspection period. So from the time that you actually go binding, it's typically 7 to 10 days a buyer has to get an inspector in there, walk the property a few more times, get the inspection report back, check for radon, termites, all that good stuff. Make sure that the bones of the property are good. I would always suggest to my buyers or express to my buyers that the inspectors we work with professionals. We work with preferred professionals, and they take their job very seriously. So we expect a 40-page document that has, red ticks all over it, from anything from chipped paint, to water stains on the ceiling, to, weird gas leaks that are coming out of the foundation. So it covers all spectrum, and we're just going to make sure with that inspection report that the bones are good in the property. All right, so let me go back over this. Due diligence is negotiated in the purchase and sale agreement, aka the offer. It's typically 8 to 12 days, sometimes 7 to 10, around that range. Once they're binding, we reach out to an inspector. Again, we have multiple professionals that we work with. We allow you to select them. We just kind of recommend that they're state certified. Any Joe Schmo off the street can say that they're an inspector. We want to make sure our people have the right paperwork and they're professionals. This is another cash investment made by the buyer. Again, you're paying somebody to make sure that the property is as healthy as they're saying it is, which is completely understandable, and it's a standard in the practice. If you're a first-time home buyer, you pay to have someone come making sure that the property is okay, or you have to sign paperwork saying you waive your right to have an inspection. You make sure they're like the doctor. They're coming to make sure that everything's healthy in the property. And, you during this due diligence period, the 8 to 12, 7 to 10 time frame, the buyer, for whatever reason, can just back out of this deal. No matter what, you can back out because you didn't like how the inspection report came out. You can back out because, when you went there, you realized maybe it required too much work. Hopefully that would be a crazy one, but hopefully we had already pushed that out of the way and you wouldn't even be in that situation, but it has happened. You can back out of this deal just because the sun wasn't shining on that particular day. You can back out in that due diligence period and you can get your earnest money back. After that 8 to 10 days, after that 7 to 12 days, you have potential to lose your earnest money. Right? So due diligence is the inspection period where a buyer pays an inspector to come through, inspect the property, make sure the property is healthy as it's being advertised as, and make a decision on if they want to, negotiate inspection repairs, if something comes up that's fixable by the seller or, deserves a little cash allowance, then the seller will take care of it with the proper paperwork. Or they won't, or they'll come back and say no. And then you'll have a decision to make. Do I want the property or not? Majority of the time, everything is smooth sailing. So we also order the appraisal. So the appraisal process is happening the same time that the inspection, like as soon as it goes by, and there's an appraisal period. And the appraisal is just your lender hiring somebody to come walk the property and make sure that that property is worth as much as, $700,000, as much as they'd be giving you. Now, if you are this is a must for most lenders. I think for all lenders, to be honest with you. Don't quote me on that, but I believe majority of lenders out there, they require you to have an appraisal, because they're not going to give you $700,000 if the value of the property is only $500,000. It's not a good deal. Like, you're partnering with a lender. It's not a good deal for them. They're not going to overpay. And so if you're a seller, that's a good thing to remember is if you're overpricing your property, it doesn't matter if somebody will overpay for it if they're getting financed for it, because the lender won't give them that money for it unless they want to pay the difference. Anyway, so the difference between an inspector and an appraiser is the inspector is basically is the guy who's making sure, the guy or gal who's making sure that it's healthy and the bones are good, checking under the hood, if you will. And then the appraiser is just what it is. It's making sure that it's valued added. And what they do is they run comparables of sales in the area. They run what's active in the area. They're doing their due diligence. They're professionals too. This is nobody who we hire. The lender typically hires them. So if that appraisal comes back lower, the seller, so the appraisal comes back lower, they let us know, like, hey, Scott, team, Beatty, buyer, Mr. Buyer, Mrs. Buyer, look, $700,000 property. It only came back at $500,000. We're just going to let you know these are the comparables that we use. This is why we did this. And now you and I, the buyer and the real estate advisor, the real estate sales professional, your best friend in real estate, will have a conversation on what you want to do next. Meaning, it came back lower. You're getting it financed. The lender will not give you $700,000 for a property that's worth $500,000. So I look at you, I say, do you want to fill in the gap, that $200,000 that needs to come from somewhere to buy this property? Do you want me to reach out to the seller to see if they'll meet me halfway? Of course, it's a meet me halfway situation the majority of the time. I reach out to the seller. Now the seller has the opportunity to pay the difference because, right now in this process, this is almost like day 15 to 20 or 30 of a closed contract. So, if they knew that they were overpriced or whatever, they might accept, to lower the price to $500,000. But if they don't want to meet you in the middle and you're not willing to pay the difference, then the deal's over with. So, that is another area where I would always strongly suggest having someone to advise you on the situation, just because different strokes for different folks. All right, real quick, and I believe I just touched base on this, inspection / appraisal. The inspector and the appraisal sometimes get confused with each other. The inspector is the doctor making sure the bones are good, and the appraiser is someone that is valuing the house based off of what has sold and what's active in the area. All right, so we're going to last call. So let's just say that the appraisal came back $700,000. We've made it through due diligence. There's nothing wrong with the property, completely perfect. We made it through the appraisal process. It's valued at $710,000. So as a buyer, you're getting a deal. We can't go up on price. The seller won't go up on price. You just got yourself a deal. That's the perk. All right. And so, we called this last call, is what I'm saying, from the customer service industry. So bar business, last call. This is where we just make sure both sides, all sides, anybody involved, the lenders, the closing attorneys, depending on your state, if you have a closing attorney or not, the selling side, the buy-in side, the financing side, all the he's and she's and the it's, We make sure everyone has their paperwork in, everything stacked up, paper clipped nicely, all the digital documents are signed, everything is tucked away and where it needs to be. So we can get the clear to close from the lender, and all we have to do is just kind of coast. And if you're not getting it financed, that we still need to make sure all sides or everybody has what they need. All right, boom, boom. And then we take it to the closing table, which is everybody's favorite part. Of course, for realtors, it's the payday. But more importantly, it's where the buyer actually gets their dream home that they've been looking for, that they've been stressed out through the process of. Hopefully they'd be able to find one, but hopefully we were able to give them a little bit of I don't know the word, but we made them feel good throughout the entire process to where they weren't stressed out the entire time. We did save them some money. We did represent them at the highest level. And, the buyer gets their property, the seller gets their cash money. Sometimes that sale of the property is contingent on the next buy, so they take that money, they put it onto the house that they are buying. But just to clear it up, the closing table is the time that has come and both sides meet at the closing attorney's office to finalize the deal. We're signing paperwork here. It's a done deal. Close the case. We signed a lot of papers. It says some right there, but we signed a lot. The funds get transferred if you're getting financed, or however, they need to get transferred anyway. The movers are called, and you get your key as a buyer. And everybody's happy, and we hug it out. Now, the buying side versus the selling side, be sure to have proper representation. Not having an agent does not mean that you will actually pay less for a property. Our services are completely free for a home buyer. By the way, this isn't a pitch about me. This is more, honestly, to be honest with you, this is just so I can start getting videos out on the internet and maybe help educate some home buyers in the process. But as far as the buying versus selling side, I'm sure that everybody can meet in the middle, but you have to think of it as side A versus side B. They're negotiating to make the most money. You're negotiating to get the best deal. You both are. And just be sure that you have someone to rep you throughout the entire process. And there's a lot of great agents that would be able to make sure you get taken care of by not having representation. But there's also a lot of sour apples in the pack that would just, for the most part, gut some buyers. You don't know what it is, and in the middle of the process, you don't have anybody advising you against certain things, certain inspection repairs, certain appraisal turnouts, closing costs. There's a lot of things that go into it. You just want to make sure that you're completely educated on the process, and that's one of the reasons why I thank you for coming here. You're not only helping me by coming to this video, but you're also educating yourself. Hopefully, this is the first video that I'm doing, so hopefully you come back next week and it's a little bit better. But another thing about the home buying process, and we went over, and there's multiple cash investments that you should be prepared about. The down payment of the loan is not going to be your only cash investment. You have that earnest money, which is 1% of the offer price. You have the inspection, which is typically $500 to $600, $700, depending on the size of the house. You have the appraisal, which is around $500-600. All these are estimates, by the way. You have the loan fees. They're fees for loans. You have settlement fees that are just like the attorney fees. You have title insurance that you have to pay. There's just a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of cash investments. Whenever you are making sure you're step one, when you're making sure your funds are together, make sure you have enough cash spending money, tip money. If we're breaking this down, make sure you have some cash to pay these people to look at your property, and make sure that you're not getting a lemon. You want to make sure you have enough money to make sure you cover the appraisal. Make sure you have representation to negotiate closing costs, because typically closing costs, certain price points, around 3 to 4% of the final price. That's the difference of $12,000 for the most part. What could you do for an extra $12,000? That's the perk of having an agent that can negotiate for you. And choosing a lender, I already talked about that. I guess this slide, whenever I made it, was the key points. Choosing a lender, you want a local lender that specializes in real estate transactions. You just don't want somebody who just gives like payday, payday cash advancements or something. I don't know if they do that, and I'm not trying to ruffle any feathers in that community, but I'm just saying you want to make sure that the real estate lender is handling your real estate loan. You're not just having just somebody who specializes. You're not going to have a kind of like your family doctor do a major surgery, same concept as that. And then the lender, make sure the lender's in your same time zone. If for whatever reason you're not doing a local lender, make sure they're at least in the same time zone, because I'll tell you what, your 11 a.m. problems on closing day, they're not even getting that message if it's East Coast time versus West Coast time. They don't wake up for another 3 to 4 hours, depending on where they are. You want to make sure that if who you work with on the lending side of a transaction will be someone that you can text, you can call anytime. You're not just a number to them outside of, I'm talking about like a call center where you get different people whenever you call in. Yeah, you know who you're talking to. We have some specific lenders that we work with. We work with a lot of them. So we probably even work with the lender that you're going with. So make sure you at least talk with somebody about us, because you might get good rates. We might have somebody to have better rates. We want to make sure that if we can save you throughout the entirety of your loan $50 a month, we would like to bring that benefit and that value to you too. And again, I don't do any kickbacks for my inspectors, my lenders, or anything like that. This is just specifically you choose from people that we've worked with that operate at high levels. Anyway, my name is Scott Beatty. Again, I am in real estate sales. If you or anyone you know is looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, or have any feedback, negative, I don't give a damn if it's negative or positive. Go ahead and leave it, like it, love it, hate it. Just help me grow my business as I help you achieve your real estate goals. That's all we ask. And have a blessed day.